Good evening, sports fans from all around the globe and Fenway Park. I am the co-host Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and this is Chalk Talk Between the Lines with Scott Webb. His weekly appearance on Tuesday nights as we try to shuffle a couple other nights or weekend nights as we get to week 6 already of the MLB. A lot of injuries, a lot going on. I have a burning question from his Tampa Bay Rays that I am going to start the show with. So without further ado, let's bring him in. The one and only Mr. Beam him up Scotty himself, Scott Webb. Good evening, sir.
Mr. Jeffrey, it is always a pleasure. And how are you today? It's a Tuesday. And it's a beautiful sunny day out here.
Yeah, it's been rainy and drizzling and raw all day, and it's supposed to be like this all week. So spring showers bring flowers, I guess. Well, we had buckets and buckets 2 nights ago, so I'm waiting for all the flowers to bloom. I have to ask, a couple weeks ago, we had our eyes on the prize, and we captured him. Comes up, does nothing wrong. Absolutely stud, Mr. Taj himself. And then for some damn reason, the Rays being the Rays said, son, you done well. But we want to send you back down to work on some stuff. And, well, Taj didn't take that too kindly by blowing up for 6 or 8 in his start down in the AAA level. But give me the 4-1-1. What the hell happened?
Well, no, I mean, you got guys that are really good pitchers, and I think he's a really good pitcher. But the Rays are they don't pay attention to what everybody else thinks around them. So the whole point of what they did is they want him to be available later. They're going to need him down the stretch, and if they use him now, he's not going to be able to pitch. So these guys don't have innings on their arms, so they can't go deep, and they can't pitch the whole season and then be in the playoffs and all that stuff. So I think they want him to be kind of that guy that's in the middle of the season, towards the end of the season. I don't even know if he makes a start in the playoffs, to be honest. I mean, he doesn't have that many innings on his arm, so. I think you can say what you want, but I mean, he's really good. But who's he going to beat out in this rotation? I mean, when you look at Glass now comes back, you got Rasmussen in there, and you got McClanahan in there. What's he going to do? Is he going to pitch like one playoff game in the whole thing? I don't know. So I don't think there's anything against the kid. I think it's just a matter of, okay, look, we need to get, and Eflin came back. So, he's going to be the 5th guy in this rotation. And they're like, well, whatever. We got that goofball pitching tonight, Fleming or whatever his name is. So that, they can sit here and tell you all they want to tell you. He's going to be a stud for that team. And so is Shane Baz. So when you sit here and start thinking about what the heck they're going to be doing, I mean, McClanahan, and then, I don't know how they're going to do it. McClanahan, Rasmussen, Glass now, Baz, the Taj. I mean, just what are you going to do? I mean, shit, 1 through 5, they could beat all your number ones.
So you're trying to tell me that the Rays, being the Rays, of course, can equate their fast start and already start making moves like this. Say, hey, kid, relax, pump the brakes. We're going to need you second half and back. So go down to the minors, which doesn't sit well with some kids. Listen, some kids know they need to go back in with mechanics. Sometimes you get sent down there because of the way the schedule is. You might have 2 off days a week. So we want you to get your innings down there. But this was like, hey, kid, you're going back down there for 2 to 3 weeks. Suck it up, Buttercup. We know you're good. We know what you can do. You've already shown that. By the way, we like our start. We have enough arms to chew up some innings. So enjoy it, kid.
So in 2022, he threw 130 innings. That's it.
So no, hold it. Say that one more time.
2022, he threw 130 innings. Now that's between Double A and Triple A.
So that means his arm's ready for that next jump, which should be 170.
20 more innings. So 150. He should be ready for 150 innings.
Oh, so you're only going. I thought you. Okay, 20. Okay.
So now it's so I don't so I think you see him. I think they sit there and go, okay, shit, we're 23-3 or whatever we are, 23-7 or whatever our record is. So you sit here and you go, just go down there and hang out and do whatever and pitch a little bit and throw a few innings or do whatever, and we'll call you back when we need you. It'd be a month, maybe a month and a half. We'll bring you back, and then you're not going anywhere. You're going to stay the rest of the time.
Are you telling me that this kid is potentially be sitting down there for a month to 6 weeks?
Mm-hmm. Yep, he'll be down there for a while. So here's an interesting thing, and I wrote some of these things down. This kind of leads into what I wanted to talk about a little bit tonight, anyway. And I know we got to get into the games because they're getting ready to start, but I wanted to talk about baseball being a long season, and I wanted to talk about so before I let some of the cat out of the bag, let's just say it this way. So the Rays are, I'm looking right at it, they're 23-6. So their projected rest of the season, projected rest of the year is 73-60.
So you're going to end up 30. You're going to end up 30 games over 500.
96-66 is their projected number. It's not bad. It's pretty good.
Are you being sarcastic? Not bad.
Well, no. I mean, if they went 500, Jeff, they're going to make the playoffs. They'll probably. I don't know that they'd win the East at that number, but they're going to make the playoffs if they went 500 the rest of the year. So what can they afford to do? Almost anything. They can almost afford to do anything with the start that they got. I mean, that's 17 games over 500 already. I mean, that's the luxury of what they have.
And you know something, Scott? It is the one team, not just in the American League, in all of baseball that the other 29 teams could not afford. It's the Tampa Bay Rays to get off to this start. Why? Because listen, you get off to hot starts because of offense. You can get off to hot starts because of offense and defense. But when you line up the arms that you guys have and you get off to such a hot start, what about when we're talking about in late to mid-September when teams start moving their staff around to set up matchups? You're doing this 6 weeks out because of the 17 games over, and you're just going to add a healthy Glass now. You're going to add a healthy Shane Baz. You're going to bring Taj back up. And I don't think enough is being talked about. Injuries happen. We get that. I mean, you look at the Yankees, they're decimated right now. But the fact of the matter is like a Blue Jays, if they got up to this 17-game lead, 17 games over 500, the thought process is, what arms are we going to add at the trade deadline to make us be able to match up against a Tampa or a Houston or something like that? I mean, this is not enough people are taking notice, Scott, or let's say not enough people are talking about the Rays.
Well, they're not talking about them enough here, but you know what? They're getting people there. They're getting 20,000 people there to watch them play. So that's pretty good. So I think that this team finally has a little bit of offense. They hit what, I don't know how many home runs it was in a row by game or whatever it was, but this is a team that I'm sure they played all the tomato cans, but I think that this is going to be one of those seasons that's special for them, and how they manage that is going to be important. Now, I'm not telling you that it's the greatest decision in the world not to see these guys play that are really good, because I like it. All these guys getting called up and all these guys playing and all these guys doing all this fun things, Oakland, you can't even recognize who those guys are, because, they're calling guys up every day. But they go out and throw 100 miles an hour, Jeff. I mean, they just go out there and that's what they do. So, the Rays have Taj Bradley, which we talked about. But who people don't talk about is Curtis Mead. He's an infielder. That's their next guy. And where's he going to play? I mean, with Yandy Diaz playing the way he is, and those guys, I mean, Wander Franco's doing what Wander Franco does, and Brandon Lau's now doing what Brandon Lau's supposed to do. I don't know what Curtis Mead's I don't even know where he's going to play. So whatever, it doesn't matter. I mean, they got guys amongst guys. They got them, and they're deep. And especially pitching wise, they're deep. When you sit there and you think, well, they got rid of Blake Snell. Okay, well, look what Blake Snell's been with the Padres, and then you sit here and go, well, they took him out after whatever in the playoffs. Well, shit, he can't throw that many innings anyway, can he?
Oh, he was nasty that day. And by the way, the one guy in the whole MLB that you can thank for the WBC and this fast start that is carried over is Randy. Randy is Mr. Big game, Mr. Playoff, and he took the WBC, and it's just carried over the last six weeks.
No question, because I think when he was in the playoffs that time, and hit all those home runs, and did all that stuff for the Rays, and
stole home.
Yeah, and then the following season, right, kind of was okay. I mean, he wasn't bad, but he wasn't a star. Well, he's a star now. I mean, he's a star.
Yeah, he is.
And Wander Franco's a star.
Yeah. Oh, I knew that. I knew that right away. You did too. And it was funny because go back and replay our tapes. And what has always been your concern and the Rays' concern? Where are we going to find the offense? That's not the problem this year.
No. They're if you look at the whole season, which I don't really look at very often, but if you look at the whole season, they're the best offense. But that comes and goes. You know how it is. It comes and goes. It comes and goes with who you're pitching against and all that stuff. I mean, it's interesting. Where's my numbers for a second? It's interesting because one of these teams. So the New York Mets are historically a team that don't strike out. They put the ball in play and they don't strike out. Well, over the last 7 days, they're number 2 in the league in strikeout percentage. They've struck out 30% of the time. Well, it's just because of who they play and the pitchers they got to face. So it ebbs and flows. But it's just interesting how some of that kind of thing goes. And I'll get into it a little bit more after we go over the games or whatever. But I want to talk about May 1st. It's really what I want to talk about, because you can look at the standings in May 1st and go, oh my God, nothing's going to change. Well, I went back and looked at last year's May 1st numbers. You want to talk about those? We'll go over those. And then we'll talk about how do you, as a gambler, I shouldn't say it that way, as an investor, right? How do you go and look at segments of time? Because you need to understand that certain things are important to certain things, meaning that, okay, the Rays got off to a great start, right? We talked about that. What does that mean? That means they're going to make the playoffs, guaranteed. I mean, guaranteed they're in the playoffs because of what they've already done. So, but other teams, the Cardinals, for example, everybody's writing the Cardinals off. Well, I wouldn't go there so fast. But at the same time, if you're an investor, you sit there and go, buy low, sell high, right? How much lower could you buy the Cardinals at? Maybe none. So maybe now's a good time to be buying on the Cardinals. Remember, there ain't nobody good in that division. Do you think Pittsburgh's going to be the ones that leads the division at the end of the season? I don't think so. So it's going to come down to St. Louis and Milwaukee. That's who it's going to be. Now, having said that, where do you want to put your money today? I mean, I
Where
get
would
it.
I'd put it on the Cardinals.
Exactly. So a lot of people are going, we got to get rid of the manager. We got to get rid of the general manager. We got to do this. We got to do that. We got to do this. We got to do. Watch and see what happens with the Cardinals. Now I'm just saying, just as a thought.
Do you think maybe we should replay last year's tapes about me sitting at the Bellagio and they were telling everyone that they were printing money about the Brewers?
Oh yeah,
and that was before all the injuries. That was before the Josh Hader trade. And I'm not discrediting the Brewers. And hats off to the Pirates. They got off to a good start. They lose O'Neal Cruz, and they've kept going. And I listen to people that are not following this close enough. They see that the Dodgers coming into Pittsburgh, and they think it's a layup. And then they come out there with let me see, long here. They had Syndergaard, they had Gonzalez that came back, and Urias. All three of them got their ass handed to them. Okay, this Pittsburgh team can rake, by the way, if no one's watching. They can score some runs.
Well, I got to tell you that the Pittsburgh Pirates are the best story so far in Major League Baseball, as far as I'm concerned.
Hands down, not even up for debate.
I think they're the best story. I mean, there's some good things going on in Major League Baseball, but none better than what's going on with the Pittsburgh Pirates.
100%. Why don't you go to the games? There's a few that have started. Right now, I see the Braves are up 1-0, bottom of the second against Alcantara. Cubs and Washington just start. Bibby versus Cole. The Bibby kid from Cleveland pitched real good his first start. Kikuch is against Houck in Boston. And Contreras versus Guerrera in your neck of the woods. 0-0 top three. You could go over any of those games or ones that are about to go off and give some people some insight what you're seeing.
Well, let me first of all just say it this way, because I think it's important to make sure that I'm transparent with everybody. Number one, I'm having a rough go of it right now. I mean, I pretty much live and die baseball and know all this stuff pretty much inside out, upside down, and backwards. But that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get the right stuff every time. And I got to be honest, I am probably one of the most frustrated things that I've dealt with. Like for example, I was on the Braves the other day when they lost after they were ahead 4-0. I lost that game 5-4. I mean, it's baseball. It happens. I know it happens, but that don't make it any better. Damn it. It's not good. So we're going to talk a little bit about some of that stuff too, as I go, at the end, so that's the transparency part. So the transparency part it's been very frustrating. So I made a little bit of an adjustment today because, I lost the Yankee game last night that they were ahead 2-0. And I get it. It's not an insurmountable lead. But you make choices, you make decisions, you bring in another pitcher, and then all of a sudden it's 3-2 and they walk in the winning run. Well, that's Major League Baseball sometimes. And it just blows. Having said that, I made some adjustments. So the play I made today, I made two of them. And I kind of like a third one, but I didn't make it. So I played the Minnesota Twins today in the first 5 innings because, I've been getting beat up on these full games. So I played them in the first 5 innings on the run line. I think it was minus 118 or something like that. That's what I paid. I don't know what it was when it went off. And I also played the Baltimore Orioles today on the first 5, same way, first 5 run line. And I'm trying to capitalize on a couple of things. One, Minnesota's really hot on offense. The White Sox are not, and the White Sox are throwing, Kopech out there who's got good stuff. He can throw hard, but he hasn't been throwing strikes. So, maybe today's the day he goes out and throws strikes, but I don't know. Joe Ryan's on the mound for Minnesota. Now on the other side, you got Tyler Wells, who's on the mound for Baltimore, and he doesn't throw hard at all, but he's very consistent at his location. He's good. It's good where he puts the ball, and he's got a good mix of pitches. So he can pitch. That's what it basically amounts to. And he's facing Yarbrough from Kansas City, who has only made one start. He's been sort of a relief pitcher for them. And he went 4 innings in his first start. It wasn't terrible, but he's been terrible in overall. And the other thing that I look at is balls in play. Now, I'm not talking about BABIP here. I'm not talking about batting average on balls in play. I just want to know what pitchers can control balls in play. And if you're a team that has a decent offense and you're facing a pitcher that allows contact, allows balls in play, in general, that offense is going to have more opportunity to score. So in a lot of these games, I'm betting that. And that's what I'm betting in these two situations, right? So if I go over those numbers real quick, Joe Ryan, his FIP number, fielding independent pitching, is 3.23. His xFIP number is 3.29. Now, fielding independent pitching is a data point that takes out a lot of things. It's what the pitcher does. So the pitcher controls strikeouts, he controls walks, and theoretically he controls home runs. And that's what it measures. So if he's a 3.23, it's kind of like an earned run average. That's pretty good. His predicted number, xFIP number, they can get that because of some of the other metrics I can talk about. But it's 3.29, so it's really good. Kopech is a 5.36 xFIP, so 2 runs worse, and his FIP number is 7.44. So that's not good, not good at all. That's bad everywhere. It's red. Red's bad on my sheet. And he's red. He's red, glowingly red. But partly is he glowingly red is because he's got 5.61 walks per 9 innings. Let me make sure I said that right. 5.61 walks per 9 innings. That's a lot of walks. So if you combine the walks and the hits, which is called WHIP, right? WHIP, walks plus hits divided by innings pitched. His number is, my computer just blinked because I've been messing with it. But his number, I believe it's 1.73. The average number that you want to be below is 1.30, something like that. That's actually lower than 1.29. So he's much higher. So there's almost 2 guys on base every inning. And if you get almost 2 guys on every inning, they got a lot of chance to score runs. So and then you kind of flip it to the other side, the Minnesota offense over the last 7 days, they're the number 2 offense in baseball. So, Buxton's been hot and Polanco came back and he's been hot. Okay, great. I'm going to bet it. So that's what I bet. When you talk about the other game with Wells and Yarbrough, it's similar all the way around, right? xFIP number for Wells is 4.19. So it's an average number. It wasn't a 3. It wasn't a good number. It was just an average number. But he's facing Yarbrough, whose number is 6.39. That's not very good. So he's got a 2 runs advantage there. And Yarbrough don't walk anybody, but neither does Wells. The difference is Yarbrough don't strike anybody out. So because he doesn't strike anybody out, balls are in play all the time. And Baltimore's offense is way better than what Kansas City's offense is. And Kansas City is one of the worst offenses in baseball. Not the worst, but one of the worst. So then you start to put those puzzle pieces together and go, okay, now how do you bet it? Well, I don't necessarily mind betting it just on the money line, but when I look at that number was Minnesota last night minus 150, and it was bet up to 170. My number is actually 179, so I still think you're getting a deal at 170. But I thought it was better to do it the way I bet it, because the actual truth is that over the last 7 days, last 10 days, the Kansas City bullpen's been pretty good. So I don't expect, a whole lot of, it doesn't do me any good to try try to score extra runs later in the game. So I'm going to try to get this capitalization over Yarbrough now. And then you have the Minnesota game. I'm sorry, that was the Minnesota game. The Baltimore game is even bet worse. Baltimore last night was minus 145, and it was up to 175. My number was only 140, so I thought it was right pretty good where it was. So now everybody's bet that number way up. So, there's a guy on VSiN, and there's a guy that goes and puts stuff out there. And he tells you to chase the steam on these plays. I will never tell you to chase the steam because you're not getting the best of the number. Now, that's up to you. You play it how you want. The guy wins, so I'm not telling you he doesn't. But you want to always have a good number. You don't want to bet bad numbers just because you're chasing somebody else's play. Anyway, that being said, I bet Baltimore for basically the same reasons that I bet Minnesota. Now, I will tell you that Milwaukee kind of fits this bill too. Milwaukee has Peralta tonight against Feltner in Colorado. Now, the difference in this one is that Milwaukee's offense is like 28th out of 30 teams in the last 7 days. So if you want to flip that script and go, okay, well, how much better is the pitcher for Milwaukee, Peralta, than they are for Feltner? Well, it's a 404 xFIP for Peralta and a 455 for Feltner. So not much. It's only half a run. So I decided that I thought that was not necessarily in my best interest. And I thought, well, maybe you can capitalize on going off against Colorado's bad bullpen. But then you got to go look at it and go, well, now I got to cover 2 runs instead of just one, just win the first 5 innings. So I just laid off of that game. But let's talk about some of these other games, right? So I don't necessarily think we should talk about the ones that already started because that's not going to be helpful. But Sandoval and Matz, I don't get this number. So here's what I'm going to tell you is the way I make a line is based off of where these teams are going to be at the end of the season. And I've got, to be honest, I've got the Angels as an over 500 team. Maybe you want to make them a 500 team. That's fine. Well, what are you going to do with the Cardinals? Are you going to make them an over 500 team? Maybe they're about similar in records. Okay, so if they're similar in records, the home team's 25 cents better. So that's minus 125. That's the difference. So now you have the Sandoval on the mound against Matz. Are you going to tell me that Matz is a better pitcher than Sandoval? I'm going to tell you he's not. And I got numbers that can prove that he's not. So I would look at this as, okay, at best, St. Louis is minus 120, 125, which is what it was last night. Now it's all the way up to 145. And my number actually has more like a pick 'em, like 110 each way. So I think there's a lot of value on the Angels tonight. Now, I didn't play it. And the reason I didn't play it is because Sandoval is left-handed. I know it sounds silly. But the Cardinals are built to beat up left-handed pitchers, and I don't want to step in front of that. So I didn't do that. But I do think that the value, and that's what you bet in baseball, is you bet value. There is none more tonight than it is on the Angels with Sandoval. And if you look at Gallen and Gray, so you got Arizona, and they're playing Texas. So here's another one that I don't get. So the number was Arizona minus 130 last night. The number's now Arizona minus 150. Now, I get it. Everybody loves Gallen. Gallen hasn't given up a run in 75 million innings. So that's why everybody's riding him. They love him, all of that stuff. But in the end, at the end of the season, what if I told you Texas is going to be a little bit above a 500 team or 500 team, and Arizona is going to be the same? So if they were the same and this game's in Texas, well, then Texas should be minus 125 to start, and then you have to factor the pitcher. Well, I get it that you're going to be factoring in one of the better pitchers in Major League Baseball, if not one of the top 10 pitchers in Major League Baseball tonight. But does that change that from a Texas minus 125 to an Arizona minus 150? I don't think so. So again, there's going to be value on the Texas side. I know that doesn't sound good, and you got to bet against all Gallon and all of his strikeouts and all these things that he didn't he hasn't done. But that's where the value is tonight. DeSclafani and Brown. So this is San Francisco and Houston. If you're betting San Francisco games right now on San Francisco, I would tell you to slow down, because this is a team that going into the series against San Diego was doing okay, but when you got to play a team that can hit, and Houston can, they just haven't done it real well quite yet. And then when you wake up a team like San Diego, you can't keep up. Even if you go out and scored, where they scored that one day, 8 runs, 10 runs, whatever it was, and they still lost. You cannot keep up, and they have that kind of offense that cannot keep up. And DeSclafani is a good pitcher, but have you seen Brown pitch yet? I mean, if you haven't seen Brown pitch, you need to go watch him pitch. The kid's really, really, really good. Now, he's not the best pitcher going tonight, but he got good stuff. Ashcraft, Cincinnati is placing San Diego, and some of the stuff I read earlier today about some of these guys, they're all over Ashcraft today. They think that Walker, you want to bet against Walker because Walker sucks. And, here's what I'll tell you. Walker's xFIP number, 4.65. It's above average. It's not good. And Ashcraft, 4.55. It's the same damn number. So Ashcraft has way better stuff. His stuff is graded at a 126. 126. To give you an idea what that means, is Garrett Cole pitches tonight. His stuff 121. So Ashcraft has better stuff than Cole. Now, he doesn't have better location. He doesn't have better pitch mixes and strategy and all that stuff. Not necessarily a better pitcher, but he got better stuff. So then you go, well, how's Walker such a big favorite? Well, it's because the Padres are a big favorite. It's not about Walker. It's they're going to go hit Ashcraft. So I think you got to be careful on what you listen to and kind of how you go. Jeff, I'm just going to tell you, if you look at these numbers, Tampa Bay was minus 160, the Mets minus 155, the Yankees minus 160, Minnesota 170, Baltimore 170, St. Louis 145, Houston 190, Arizona 150, Milwaukee 162, San Diego 190, the Dodgers You're not going to get into many of these games. So we're May 1st. These numbers don't get better. They get worse. They get higher if you like to bet favorites. So you're going to get to a point where you're not going to play baseball games all summer if you don't figure out how else to bet. So there's going to be a lot of strategy talk when we get into some of these things about that stuff. And here's another thing that happens, and it's happening real fast. So tonight, there's a guy named Bryce Miller who's starting tonight for the Seattle Mariners. Well, one of their top prospect kids who's going to pitch. And he's going to pitch against Oakland, and it's in Oakland. And they are minus 130. What if I told you the wrong team's favored tonight?
I would agree.
I mean, I'm telling you, this kid that pitches for Oakland tonight, he's got a few starts, and Seattle's not that good. So watch this kid mow down that lineup tonight, at least first 5, because I will be as honest as I can. The Oakland bullpen, Jeff and I could go pitch for them. They're not very good at all. And then kind of the game of the night, or in my mind, the game of the night, or one of the games of the night, is the Phillies and the Dodgers tonight. I want to see what Urias does. Urias has not been good. He's got good predictive numbers, which means that he's been unlucky in a lot of things. But I will tell you that it's interesting because there's one Bryce Harper that's in the lineup tonight. And he's probably 45 days before he's supposed to be out there. So what does he look like? Is he Bryce Harper, or is he sort of nursing Bryce Harper? My guess is he's Bryce Harper, or they wouldn't let him out there because he's not gonna, he's not gonna do a dance around thing and pretend like he's healthy and not be healthy, and he's gonna take his full rips, and he's gonna do everything that Bryce Harper normally does. I was listening to a doctor talk about it today, and they said, well, the reason he's out there is because in 2 months' time from now, 45 days, whatever, it's not going to be any different than it is today. So, certainly maybe he could be stronger. Maybe he could be this or that because he's working out or whatever, baseball moves and all that stuff. But the truth of the matter is he's healed to the degree in which he doesn't need any more time it's not going to be any different. And I find that amazing that he's going to be out there. He's not a pitcher, so that means a lot. And he doesn't have to play the field right now, so that means a lot. But that's a team that can use that guy's bat. And boy, is Philadelphia. People were writing Philadelphia off not too long ago, Jeff. And that's a team that's right back in it again. So, and this kid Strom that's pitching for them, Matt Strom, he's a relief pitcher that they've stretched out. And Jeff, he's pitched better than Wheeler and Nola.
Is that the Strom kid from the Padres?
Yep, that's him. That's him. And you know what else is interesting about this? Look up the Dodgers against left-handed pitching. They ranked 27th in the league against left-handed pitching.
They've been the last few years, not that it matters for them, in the win and loss column, but there was a stretch where they did not well against lefties. And I'm glad you brought up St. Louis, because that used to be when you saw a lefty come and go take a look at the Cardinals. And I'm glad you brought it up, May 1st, today the 2nd. And I talked about it a lot this past week to the ECSI VIPs in our alerts. The market has caught up to the team totals. And so in other words, we used to be able to take for instance, let's just say for poops and giggles tonight, the Padres are minus 170. Now they're minus 185. I don't want to get into the Padres tonight, minus the 185. I don't want to get into the first 5 minus the hook. I don't want to play the full game run line because I'm not guaranteed 27 outs. But I can get into the team total, let's say over 4.5 at plus money. Well, what they have now done is they're shading that number to the over. So instead of me getting the Padres team total over 4.5 plus 110, 115, they're saying, no, not so fast. We're going to juice that one to the under, and now you're going to take the Padres team total over 4.5 minus 130. I looked at Houston first 5 tonight. Houston on paper was minus 170 this morning, now minus 184. Usually minus the half there, you can get around minus 115, 120, minus 40. So they have already, in just 6 weeks, Scotty, have sharpened their pencil, and we're not even to Memorial Day yet.
That's what I'm saying. You got some pretty good matchups tonight. I mean, I'm not saying that you've got some certain stellar things going on, but you don't have Rays and Braves or something. But to tell me that these lines make sense, they don't. But I've been betting and losing, Jeff. So I mean, I don't want to sit here and tell people that it's a winning strategy, because it hasn't been, or at least for me for now. But I think that's because I made good bets. I just didn't get good results, and stupid shit's been going on. And I can tell you that I've been ready to. Well, you saw one of my texts, and I called you and said, I ain't doing that goddamn show. I can't even. I'm like, I am done with baseball for today. I said that. And how often have you ever heard me say that? I was so pissed. So I was like, you know what, man? I'm gotta get away. So I wanted to share a thought with everybody around that, because I think it's important. This is a business and an industry where it's different than when you go to work or in your personal life. Shouldn't be, but it is. So what I mean by shouldn't be and stuff you'll see in a second, but this is a mindset that you've got to have to stay sane doing these things. And if you don't find a way to get away from pessimism, to get away from obnoxious people, the "I told you so" things, the well, you didn't learn your lesson kind of people. If you don't get away from them, you will never win. You won't, because this takes a mindset that's different. You got to have a mindset about positivity. Everything in your life, everything that you think about, everything has to be filled of positivity, surrounded by positive people. If you don't have that, you will not overcome all the bullshit that you got to deal with. You won't. And then secondly to that, everything that you should think about has got to be filled full of optimism, the glass is half full stuff. Sure, you can kind of look at the other side because that kind of saves you a little bit in terms of jumping off the cliff when you're not looking. But I'm talking about mindset, not necessarily pulling the trigger on a bet. Because when you start to think about it, you need encouragement. You need somebody there to support your choice, to give you sound advice and say, you did it the right way. Whatever happens, you did it right. Congratulations. Great job. And be positive about it. And promote the mindset of just being lucky, because that's what it takes sometimes. And you know what? I looked it up. Here's some words that are equal to lucky, and I want to be this. Fortuitous. That's a good word. I want to be fortuitous. That means you're lucky. I want to be happy. I don't care really about being happy. I think when you win, you're happy. You're that's just part of it. You're hot, like, okay, I'm on a hot streak. I'm hot. I'm running good. You're successful. Those things are all equated to being lucky. Some other terms are like having a charmed life. Okay, well, what's wrong with that? Being advantageous. That's a pretty good word. Being advantageous. How about promising? If you're not in that kind of a mindset every single day when you go down to make your picks, every single solitary thought that goes through your mind has to be about those things. You have to think that you're going to win this bet or don't make it. You're not, we talked about this a couple weeks ago. You're not doing DFS stuff here. You're making DFS bets with the idea that you're going to lose, but you only want to hit one. Well, you're not doing that here. You're putting bigger money out here to win bigger money. Your money makes money. So the mindset matters. And I wanted to share that because baseball is a long, grinding season. And if you find yourself in that rut, in that hole, in that space that your mind isn't right, you better straighten it out, or you're going to be in that spot for a long time and you're not going to have any control of getting out of it. It's just, and you're going to do it to yourself. It won't be because you made good bets. They just turned out bad. It's going to be a lot of other reasons, because you didn't think things through right, because you got caught up in this or that or whatever, or you were trying a whole bunch of different stuff, throwing stuff on the wall to see what sticks. Stay to your process. Stay to your process. Be strong-minded, but positive-minded. Will yourself to win as opposed to allowing yourself to be defeated. Will yourself to win. Anyway, that's my sermon, Jeff.
No, and I think it's great words of wisdom, because we preach the marathon here. We preach the day-to-day grind. And it's easy for people to just jump ship. True story here. In the last 23 weeks, we had a losing week last week. We lost 3.33 units. It was our third losing week in the last 23 weeks. In the last 23 weeks, we were 17 envelope Mondays, 3 losing weeks, and 3 pushes. Turn the page, move on. We carry it over to the next week, plus or minus 10 cents, 20 cents, whatever it is. Timing is everything in life, Scott. And what happens is people that jumped on last week were a part of that losing week. People that jumped on 2 and 3 weeks ago might have seen +2 units, +1 unit, even 1 week, and then minus the 3.3. And they're jumping ship already because why? Because they think in a service, we're paid professionals. Therefore, we win every day, we win every week, we win every month. That just doesn't happen. And my point of this sermon is we've been blessed for the most amazing 23-week run in our history of 8.5 years. And I hate to bring up the R word that we talk about pitching all the time, and that's called regression. It's just numbers, as you would say. How many times are you and I breaking down a game and you saying his score last game was 72? You know what that means, Jeff? Yep, I do. Duck. Okay.
Yep.
So in other words, if you're in this game of wagering, sports wagering, and you think you're just going to jump in and jump on a thread or follow a couple people on social media and make $1 bazillion, I got 2 bridges for sale. It's called the Sagamore and the Bourne Bridge. And the Sagamore right now is under construction, so you can get that cheaper than the Bourne. But we can talk after the show. And this isn't for everyone, guys. If you're not tough skinned, if you can't take the era, you can't take the Baltimore, the bleeder over short, the pass ball, the Kelly, the Jansen, come in with a 3-run lead, give up a grand slam and lose, you're in the wrong ballpark, guys. That's my sermon.
Well, baseball's tough. So you know, a lot of people are finding that baseball's fun to watch now, so they want to get involved. But baseball's a hard sport. Now, when I say this, you know, then you sit around and watch Twitter and you go, oh, these guys are winning like 37-10 and 30. You can do that. There's runs you can do those things. And I'm not going to sit here and dispute it because I don't know if they did or they didn't do it. Whatever. I don't really care. All I know is that it's like anything else. Everything has its averages. And if I'm making my typical wagers, I'm going to average somewhere in the 55 to 60% win rate. And if I'm betting small favorites or dogs or whatever, I'm probably going to come out ahead. You're going to have good unit sizes. You're going to win. You're going to do whatever, right? So you're going to be okay. But there's going to be swings where I'm going to be from, say, if I was 55 to 60% wins, I'm going to be 40% wins. I might even be 20% wins. I might be whatever it is. It doesn't matter. It's a streak. It is what it is. It goes there. And then all of a sudden, that's over. And then you have to get back to your average number. Well, to get back to your average number, you have to have an outlier performance above where your normal number is to bring that low result back up to where it should be. So I'm sitting here going, God damn, at least it's happening now. Let's get it out of the way. So let's get it out of the way. So when it does go, it's like, holy shit, here we go. No worries, right? You know, you go on those, and it's like when I sit here and talk to people about, I think I did this last week. I don't remember. I'm pretty sure I did. I say so much stuff, but it's not my job to predict when a streak will end. It's my job to write it. So that's exactly the same thing when you're handicapping games. You can do all these different things that can keep you losing, or you can get mentally tough, get yourself in a positive mental frame of mind and stay there and will your way through it. And then on the other side of it, ride that streak until it ends. And that could go for a month. That could go for 2 months, actually. It could go for 3 days, but it can go for a long time. And you want to ride that stuff, right? You're the craps guy at the table just going, man, this I can't lose, right? You're that guy. So I think it's important to understand that. And that doesn't happen in football kind of the same way. because football's a little different sport. They don't play every day. You get a little break in between. You got to stuff that you got to try to figure out and different things. Baseball is every single day. It's stay up till 2 o'clock in the morning, get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and you're still dealing with baseball, and you're still complaining about what happened last night, or you're trying to put it behind you, or figure out how to be a brave person and get through and find some solace into somebody that's positive minded and lucky, and go rub them off and try to get some of that shit on you. So you're trying to do that stuff, but it may or may not happen. But whatever, you're working at it, and you're working at it and working at it. Football, you get a little bit of a break here and there. And I get it. People are talking about the draft right now. They're talking about what the teams are like. So, we still got months and months to go. Well, baseball's kind of that way. You got the hot stove league and all the other stuff. But I will tell you that in football, you don't bet the winner of the game. You bet the points. And in baseball, you just bet the winner. All you got to do is bet on the team that wins the game. That's all you got to do. Whoever wins the game, just bet on them. Well, the money line changes a lot of that, but that's all you got to do is bet on the team that wins the game, and it's not been so easy. So anyway, it's a hard sport. It's a fun sport. It's exciting. The way you lose games can be invigoratingly bad, but if you're on the other side of that and you won a game you weren't supposed to win, oh my God, it's one of the most joyous things in the world. It's like, holy shit, I have made the gambling gods happy somehow. I gave them a tip or something that they just loved, and all of a sudden now the golden light is on me.
The scroll has been going the whole time. Obviously, they can follow me at EC Sports Invest. You can send us an email to eastcoastsportsinvestors@gmail.com. Scotty at Webby20MLB on Twitter. Also, tell them about your website where they can get your information, Scott.
Yeah, so you can catch me at MLB-daily.com. Most of my stuff comes. I don't say it doesn't always go through there, because at this point a lot of quick stuff goes out on Twitter, and then finding a hard time to find time to write a bunch of stuff. I used to, I like to write stuff. So I did want to bring up that May 1st thing real quick, Jeff. I know
sure. Go ahead.
But May 1st of this year, everybody's looking at the standings, and they're kind of looking at it and saying, hey, all these teams nobody's, it is what it is. Well, here's what the standings were May 1st of last season. So the New York Yankees were 16-6 May 1st, followed by Toronto, and then the Angels. The Angels were 15-8. Now, the Angels didn't make the playoffs, and they weren't even 500 last year. The Minnesota Twins were 13-9, another team that didn't make the playoffs, didn't win their division. The Tampa Bay Rays were 12-10, Seattle 12-10. Here, the World Series champions, Jeff, were 11-11. 11-11 on May 1st, the Houston Astros. The team that played the Houston Astros, the Philadelphia Phillies, they were 11-12. So a lot can happen after May 1st. So here's a thought, and I'm going to put this in your head, because I want people to realize that you got to try to figure this out in a different way. So if you were to go and say, what were the Houston Astros after May 1st? I would tell you that they were probably a 660% win team. Probably. I don't remember. I don't know what their final result was, but let's say they were a 60% win team. That's a lot of wins. Didn't they win 100 games? Pretty close. The Astros last year. I don't remember.
Pretty close.
So if they won 100, they would have to win. That's 22 games from the 160, 140 games left. And out of 140 games left, they would have had to have won to get to 100. They would have to win 89 games. So they would have had to been 90-50, right? Just say 90-50. That's 40 games above 500. That's at least a 60 win percentage. So if that's truly what they were, then that's who they are. And if you valued them at anything less, then you weren't doing it right. So let me explain what I mean. So you're going to see where they are today, and then you got to go, well, where are they going to be at the end? If a team's going to win 60% more of their games, and I'm not sure you can predict that, but say they are, and they win 60% of their games, you should be evaluating that team's strength at 60% win rate, as opposed to whatever the current win rate is, 500. That's 100 points difference. That's a huge line interpretation and the sports books aren't doing that. And what I mean by that is you're going to then be able to capitalize on teams that nobody else can, and you're going to see numbers that you're going to understand what they mean that nobody else is going to get, because you're handicapping that team's performance for the rest of the season, not what they've already done. And I can tell you that it's really significant. Now, if you want to go to tell you how to do it, you can go to Fangraphs. Now, I'm in Fangraphs every day, all the time. If you go to Fangraphs, across the top, they're going to have a thing on there, and I'll just go over there. It's gonna say standings. So then it's going to say out of there, you hit projected standings. So you click that button, and then you kind of scroll that down, and you can see where it says the Tampa Bay Rays are 23-6 in 29 games. That's the year-to-date number. Then they got a projected full season number, and it says 96-66. Well, they got one in the middle that says projected rest of the season 73-60. So you can then go and say, well, the Rays aren't going to be this 595 team because they've already won almost 80% of their games. They're not going to keep that up, but they're going to play a little better than 500. So they're going to be a 550 team. So when you're handicapping going forward, you kind of want to handicap them at a 550 clip, not a 600 clip, because they're going to lose more games than you think they are. So that's my point when I sit here and tell you teams, when you're gonna fall into what the sports book wants. You're gonna overpay that huge number that the Rays are favored by tonight, because they're handicapping them at 600 when they're really a 550 team the rest of the season. And when they get to be a 550 team, they're going to end up 600. Does that make sense? So when you do it that way, you're going to see a ton of value in a lot of different things. And that's why I was talking about when I said the St. Louis Cardinals. Let me go find them for a second just to share information, right? So the St. Louis Cardinals right now are 10-19. They're a 345 win percentage. Over the very best team in the National League Central through the remaining projected rest of the season is supposed to win a 526 win clip. 526. That means the rest of them ain't going to hardly be 500. Well, that team is the Cardinals. The Cardinals are 526 to win. The Brewers are 504. And you know, those Pirates, the Pirates that everybody likes, 466 the rest of the way. 466. So then it kind of comes out as, okay, well, the Cardinals come out 526. That's 70 wins, 63 losses. They're about a 500 team. Just what I said when we were talking about this before. You got the Cardinals as kind of a 500 team. The Angels kind of a 500 team. Why are the Cardinals minus 150 tonight with Matz on the mound? What's the matter with you people?
Angels 4 and still batting in the first.
I'm sorry. Did I say something good?
Angels 4-0.
Anyway, sorry. I just wanted to make sure that I said that because I thought that was important. I think base run standings are important. I think it's important to understand what teams should be and what they're and kind of who they are and who they're not. If you look at base runs, for example, here's a good one. If you look at base runs, the Pittsburgh Pirates They are 20-9, but their record should be 18-11. So they're 2 games better than what they really are playing like. And the Chicago Cubs, they are 15-13 and should be 19-9. That tells you a lot because that tells you that the Cubs have been a little unlucky. And the Cubs are probably undervalued in a lot of spots.
I agree. I go back a million years ago. Was it 84? The Tigers started 35-5, and then they played 500 ball the rest of the way. Kind of reminds me of your Rays here. Tyler Ward was a 3-run homer, by the way. So you were talking about the move on that game. So I was giving you props. It was 4-0 Angels, still top of the first.
Well, I'm just, some of this stuff you can sort of see now. You've got to be able to be brave enough, I guess, to bet it if you want to do it that way and think you're not stupid or crazy. But the point of what I'm trying to get at is that if you get caught up in trying to bet on what has happened already, you're not going to be able to be where you need to be in baseball. Baseball is a forecasting sport. You bet on what they're going to do this week, not what they did opening week. Right? I'm not even looking at opening week data anymore for hitters. I don't look at it for relief pitchers. When I click the button for starting pitchers, it's the past 30 days. Well, guess what? Some of their starts are already starting to drop off. That I'm not looking at them anymore. I'm only looking at what's current, because if you're not taking advantage, Baltimore, Kansas City, that's not good for me. But if you start looking at some of these things and you start doing some of this stuff, the problem that you run into is that you're going to be riding through the wrong set of information. And that's just kind of the way it is.
Baseball, 162 games. That's why we love it. And again, if people don't understand, please go to Scotty, reach out to him, follow him. He does follow you back. He does answer any questions that you might have at Webby20MLB. And I can't thank you enough. I mean, the thought process is simple. If you were sleeping in a cave for the first 6 weeks, and you came out and saw what your Rays have done to start the year, well, you missed it. So as you said, you now are going to bite the apple of the inflated number. I talk about it, inflated numbers every day. And then you wake up and you see an overnight number, and then we call it a corrected number. What is the number, and your Angels, I think we're in for a shootout. Now, I could be totally wrong on that one, but we'll have to see. At least for the ECSI VIPs, we're hoping, and it kind of helps us because we have the St. Louis team total over tonight. So guess what? If St. Louis doesn't bat in the ninth, that says we got there. At worst case scenario, we're batting in the ninth, so we're getting 27 outs there. So everyone, please follow. Thank you all for watching, all listening. Myself and Scotty will try to figure out a schedule to get us back midweek, if not maybe this weekend. And we'll be back to talk some baseball. For myself, Jeff Dawson at EC Sports Invest, the one and only Scotty Webb at Webby20MLB. Enjoy the night, full of action. Have some fun. Cash a few tickets, and we will see you soon.